Oh, good afternoon. It got up to 95 today by our car thermometer. The local weather says 85, but the berries are getting ripe, and we're picking quite a few. So look for the darkest ones and just pick them off. And they always like to hide. Be careful because you can get caught on the branches. That's how we do a little berry picking. There's plenty. I picked some earlier. I got some down here. A couple more days they'll all be done. Usually runs about a week to 10 days. And I can pick them in the morning, and there will be more in the afternoon. Because if you don't, and the birds find them before you do, they suddenly all disappear. So these are, usually the birds don't bother them too much because they're in the shade, semi-shade, so they don't stand out like a fruit tree that's sitting out in the middle of the yard. And it's thorny, so a lot of animals don't want to chew on the plant. But they look small, but as they ripen, they plump up some. So we get lots of berries. Put those in the bowl. These canes that don't have any berries on them, they will have berries next year. So if you have something like that sticking out of the ground, looks kind of cattywampus, if you cut those all away, you won't have berries next year. So all these are from last year's growth. So we'll pick them. And there's a lot more. And we just keep picking them. I'm going to stain in my hand a little bit here. And I love them on yogurt, in my cereal. They're not as sweet as cultivated berries, but they're not sour either. And you can actually squish them with your tongue to the roof of your mouth and swallow them. You try grinding them with your teeth, the seeds, you're going to go, oh, they're too seedy. So you'll learn to eat them in that manner. And if you take the end of the plant, like this one, and you can either train it back towards the other direction with a wood stake, or you can trim them back a little bit. But I usually take them like this new cane and weave it back into the pile. If you're getting too many brown canes like the one there, that's last year's berry growth. If there's nothing growing on it, you can cut those out. Cut them in pieces. Don't try to pull it out by just cutting one end and just yanking it out, because you don't want to disturb all your good berries. And all this new growth, you can start tucking it down. The end, if it touches dirt, will root, and then the plant kind of walks to a new area, just like Egyptian walking onions. So enjoy picking your berries. And I started out with one little plant that a bird deposited here, the seed, and it grew, and I knew what it was, and I put a little wire fence around it. And here we are 4 or 5 years later, and we got a fully involved blackberry patch. And these are wild. These are not the cultivated type. There. And I planted some seeds from the cultivated type, and it looks like I'm getting something that's not going to produce fruit, but some kind of weird stem. So put those in the bowl. If you get enough of them, you could mash them and make jelly out of them. Add some apple pectin to it, and you could probably make a jam, or like a, not quite an apple butter, I guess it'd be a blackberry butter, blackberry apple, but because these are not strong flavored on their own, depends on what apple you used. But apples are high in pectin, so they used to use apples as a base to thicken other fruits. And there we go. So use what resources you have, or plan for those resources. Because if you're buying everything, people didn't used to do that. Their resources was, they were handy, and they helped each other. And one person got their wagon fixed. He might get a fried chicken in return. Another one might have eggs. Picture well pump. This is how it worked. It all depended on what the two of you wanted to agree upon. Not what was the top going trending price you could get. So, because people knew each other more personal basis, they treated people with a little bit more respect. Not saying there wasn't always people that were bad, and people that are overly zealous and point out other people's faults except for their own. And then there's us that make mistakes sometimes and are willing to say, I made a mistake. Let's start again tomorrow. And by doing so, you each grow from the experience, and you can choose to continue to be friends or not. I choose to be friendly with people. And if their method isn't my method, then we can agree to disagree. That doesn't make you bad or them bad. And one thing I like, my husband took a job, or if he was going to look at a job and he decided he couldn't do it, or do it to the satisfaction of the customer and himself, he'd tell them. He didn't say okay and walk out the door and not answer the phone. Or say he didn't like their attitude, mess up the work, and charge them for it. Integrity meant everything. Because where do you draw the line otherwise? That's why we treat others as we want to be treated, even if we don't agree with them. So it's something to think about. And have a nice day. I'm going to take my berries in. I heard about a new movie on Tubi, so I think I'll watch that tonight. I'll take care and hope you all stay safe.